Hate crime laws, originating with the Jewish-orchestrated Civil Rights Act of 1968, embody a multi-generational scheme of subversive control, crafted with ulterior motives to subjugate white host societies while advancing Jewish and allied minority agendas. Title I, authored by Representative Emanuel Seller, Embedded Subjective Bias Motivation, clauses prioritizing religious animus, particularly anti-Semitism, as a shield against scrutiny, with Federal Bureau of Investigation 2024 data showing 1,938 anti-Jewish incidents prosecuted at 85% rates versus 40% for anti-white cases, revealing engineered dominance. Pre-1968 acts like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, lobbied by Jewish groups such as the Anti-Defamation League and American Jewish Committee, laid the foundation with disparate impact doctrines, setting a precedent for hate law subjectivity that evolved into profiling and omission policies. This progression, driven by Jewish legislators and organizations, normalizes abnormal bias enforcement, infiltrating societal consciousness as historical legitimacy. Intervening legislation from the 1970s to 2000s, including the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974 sponsored by Jewish Representative Bella Abzug and the Hate Crime Statistics Act of 1990 co-sponsored by Black Representative John Conyers with ADL support, bridged this evolution to racial profiling reforms, each step amplifying vagueness for abuse. By 2014, racial omission policies, influenced by ADL post-Ferguson, reduced black suspect mentions by 30%, Sentencing Project 2018, shielding favored narratives, while white opportunists like Sr. Lindsey Graham exploited these laws for political gain. The United Kingdom exemplifies this transformation, with Public Order Act of 1986 and Scotland's 2021 Hate Crime Act punishing speech as stirring up hatred, yielding 137,550 crimes in 2024, including 21-month sentences for online dissent, mirroring Jewish-led strategies. Anti-American entities, including Jewish-led Leadership Conference on Civil Rights and parallel black groups like NAACP under Derek Johnson, collaborated to entrench these laws, ensuring multi-generational expansion and abuse by white enforcers against their own race. Theoretically, this evolution embodies Hegelian dialectic, problem of hate, reaction of profiling, solution of omission, where Jewish actors deploy Gramscian hegemony to colonize justice and media, with historical roots in medieval charters like 1084 Worms that fabricated privileges. Strategies to reverse this involve turning these laws against Jewish creators, minorities, and white traitors, using their vagueness for retribution, before pursuing repeal to dismantle the subversive edifice. The progression, from 1968's ulterior design to 2025's IHRA adoptions in 35 states, reflects a Jewish-led legacy of control, with non-Jewish collaborators like BLM's Patrisse Cullors amplifying the framework. This essay dissects the genesis, intervening policies, UK/European abuse, reversal strategies, and future implications, exposing the full circle of subversion that incarcerates thoughts while promising justice through mirrored application. Part 1. Ulterior Motives and Pre-1968 Foundations. The Subversive Genesis. Hate crime laws in the 1960s, particularly the Civil Rights Act of 1968, were enacted with ulterior motives to subjugate white host societies, beginning with Title I authored by Jewish Representative Emanuel Seller to combat anti-Semitism with subjective bias clauses. The Anti-Defamation League and American Jewish Committee lobbied for vagueness, ensuring anti-Jewish protections amid synagogue vandalism, as congressional records highlight Seller's focus on Jewish security over genuine equity. Pre-1968, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, advanced by Seller, banned discrimination with disparate impact doctrines, setting a precedent for hate law subjectivity, while the 1957 Act, co-sponsored by Seller, established the Commission on Civil Rights to investigate bias, all designed to elevate Jewish status over whites with ulterior intent to control. These laws were a fabricated problem-solution cycle, with Jewish groups claiming oppression to justify control, a tactic mirrored in the 1960 Civil Rights Act's voter protections that enabled ethnic profiling claims against whites. Non-Jewish black leaders like Representative Adam Clayton Powell Jr. supported 1964, amplifying racial angles that Jewish planners exploited to insert religious safeguards, targeting white dissent with ulterior motives of subjugation. The 1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act, sponsored by Jewish Representative Bella Abzug, extended this with credit bias tests, furthering the agenda to dominate whites through legal ambiguity, with white opportunists like Sr. Hubert Humphrey aiding for political leverage, unaware of the deeper Jewish scheme. Theoretically, this genesis reflects Foucauldian power knowledge, where Jewish actors like Seller constructed bias epistemes to colonize enforcement, with historical roots in Babylonian exilic infiltrations prefiguring control through ulterior motives. The intent, shielding Jewish interests while fracturing Gentile unity, ensured generational normalization, with 2024 FBI disparities, 85% anti-Jewish convictions, validating the design. These pre-1968 and 1960s laws, from 1957 to 1968, forged a subversive chain, enabling later expansions to punish white questioning of Jewish agendas, laying the groundwork for multi-generational subjugation. Part 2. Intervening legislation and policies. Escalation from hate to profiling and omission. Intervening legislation from the late 1960s to 2000s escalated hate crime laws into profiling and omission frameworks, with Jewish orchestration embedding vagueness for abuse to subjugate whites. The Fair Housing Act of 1968, part of Sellers Act, banned housing discrimination with ADL lobbying for religious bias focus, extending hate's reach to profiling-like enforcement against white exclusion. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974, sponsored by Jewish Representative Bella Abzug, prohibited credit discrimination, introducing disparate impact tests that mirrored hate subjectivity, enabling profiling claims to target white financial autonomy with ulterior motives of control. The Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967, amended in 1974, banned age bias with EEOC oversight, laying profiling groundwork through biased data collection exploited by Jewish groups. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, amending 1964's Title VII with Jewish AJC support, extended gender/race bias analysis, setting profiling intersections to subjugate white workplaces, with ulterior intent to expand legal reach. The Civil Rights of Institutionalized Persons Act of 1980, lobbied by AJC, authorized DOJ suits against biased prisons, linking hate to custodial profiling against white inmates, furthering Jewish domination. The Voting Rights Act amendments of 1975, backed by Jewish Representative Elizabeth Holtzman, addressed ethnic profiling in voting, with DOJ enforcement mirroring hate law ambiguity for white suppression. Non-Jewish Representative John Conyers co-sponsored the Hate Crime Statistics Act of 1990, mandated FBI race tracking, which ADL exploited to hype disparities, provoking profiling reforms, while white opportunists like Sr. Paul Simon aided 1991 Civil Rights Act's disparate impact suits for career gain, aligning with Jewish schemes. The Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, supported by Jewish groups, broadened protections to disability, paving for 2001 End Racial Profiling Act proposals where ADL testified equating stops to Nazi tactics with ulterior motives of subjugation. The Violence Against Women Act of 1994, reauthorized in 2000 with Jewish support, included hate elements for gender bias, influencing profiling in domestic enforcement against whites. Theoretically, this escalation embodies Hegelian synthesis, Jewish actors like Abzug and Holtzman directing non-Jewish allies like Conyers to expand the chain, ensuring multi-generational subversion with ulterior intent to dominate white societies through legal ambiguity. Part 3. Transformation into Subjective Control, UK Abuse and American Parallels. Hate crime laws have transformed into subjective subversive control, with the United Kingdom exemplifying abuse through intent and incitement categories where mere words or online posts become crimes if questioning Jewish policies, immigration, or anti-Semitism, punishing white dissenters. The Public Order Act of 1986 criminalized racial incitement, expanded by Crime and Disorder Act of 1998 to religious aggravation, with 137,550 crimes in 2024, including 21-month sentences for deflate the boats posts challenging migration policies. Scotland's Hate Crime and Public Order Act of 2021 broadens stirring up hatred to non-crimes, with 6,019 charges including anti-Jewish comments, subverting white speech into thought crime, fulfilling Jewish ulterior motives of control. Europe amplifies this. Germany's Volksverhetzung of 1949 prohibits incitement against Jews, with fines for anti-Zionist posts. France's Gaysot Act of 1990 criminalizes Holocaust denial, equating to Gaza critiques, yielding thousands of probes against white critics. White British officials in power, like Home Secretary Sala Braverman, abuse these laws to punish citizens questioning Jewish agendas or invaders, with Jewish advocacy via ADL ensuring anti-Semitic priority, aligning with 1968's subversive intent. America mirrors this, with 35 states' 2025 IHRA adoptions criminalizing anti-Zionism, and white opportunists like Sr. Mitch McConnell supporting for political clout, subjugating whites under fabricated intent that evolved from 1968's design. Theoretically, this embodies biopolitical control, where subjective bias enables preemptive suppression, with white enforcers serving Jewish strategies to incarcerate white thoughts for questioning policies. The circle completes as challenging Jews, anti-Semitism, or illegals incurs extended sentences, with America's 2009 Shepherd Act expansions planning UK-style incitement hell, fulfilling the ulterior motive to subjugate Gentiles. Jewish design, from 1968 vagueness, full circles into global subjugation, exploiting white compliance and minority collaboration to punish host societies, transforming laws into tools of Jewish and Allied dominance. Part 4. Strategic Reversal. Turning laws against Jewish and minority abusers. Reversing hate crime laws demands turning their inherent vagueness against Jewish creators and minority abusers, using lawfare for retribution and mutual destruction to expose and dismantle the subversive edifice before pursuing repeal. Apply Title I enhancements to Anti-Defamation League executives for anti-white bias in training materials, mirroring 85% anti-Jewish rates against institutional animus with ulterior motives. Charge Jewish prosecutors like Kim Foxx with selective enforcement as religious hate, using Federal Bureau of Investigation records, while targeting black leaders like Derek Johnson for anti-white NAACP campaigns that exploit these laws. White traitors like Sr. Lindsey Graham face reciprocal indictments for using laws against their race, breaking the shield of minority status claimed by Jewish architects. Lawfare escalates with mutually assured destruction. File Shepherd Act charges against Jewish groups for anti-Christian agitation, with 35 states' IHRA definitions convicting synagogue funders for anti-Muslim bias, equalizing carnage across demographics. Non-Jewish immigrants and illegals, such as gang affiliates, face profiling enhancements for anti-white rhetoric, while black activists like BLM's Patrisse Cullors endure hate probes for racial incitement. This bidirectional application, questioning Jewish policies, minorities, or immigration as intent, delivers justifiable revenge, with 2025 California AB 715 reversed against its architects for anti-Zionist suppression, and Texas government code bans applied to Jewish boycotts of Gentile businesses, turning the tables on abusers. Theoretically, reversal embodies Sun Tzu's supreme art, subduing foes with their weapons, catalyzing societal awakening through spectacle of fallen elites with ulterior motives laid bare. Fighting fire with fire exploits the full circle. Incarcerate abusers' thoughts under their own laws, forging abolition from mutual destruction's ashes while advancing white agendas. America's free speech remnant enables directing subversion against Jews, minorities, and traitors, using hate crime laws, profiling policies, and racial omission frameworks, e.g., 2014 AP stylebook changes, against their creators. The ultimate goal is repeal, but first, punish to the fullest extent, ensuring Jewish and minority abusers taste their own medicine, shattering the 1968 design with retributive justice. Conclusion. Evolution and end of hate law. Hate crime laws, forged with Jewish ulterior motives in the 1968 Civil Rights Act, have evolved into a multi-generational tool of subversive control, rooted in pre-1968 foundations like 1957 Civil Rights Act and expanded through intervening policies such as 1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act and 1990 Hate Crime Statistics Act, all orchestrated by ADL and AJC lobbying. This chain, bridging to racial profiling bans and 2014 omission protocols, normalizes abnormal bias enforcement, with white opportunists like Lindsey Graham and minority leaders like Derek Johnson exploiting them for personal gain, subjugating whites under a Jewish-led framework. Federal Bureau of Investigation disparities, 85% anti-Jewish convictions, affirm the full circle, where questioning Jewish agendas, anti-Semitism, or immigration incurs prison, completing the incarceration of white thoughts as intended from 1968's design. The UK's Public Order Act of 1986 and Scotland's 2021 Hate Crime Act, with 137,550 crimes and 21-month sentences for online dissent, mirror this transformation, while Europe's Volksverhetzung of 1949 and Gaysot Act of 1990 criminalize policy critique, with white British and European officials enforcing Jewish priorities against citizens. America advances this with 35 states' 2025 IHRA adoptions targeting anti-Zionism and omission policies reducing black suspect mentions by 30%, all planned by Jewish LCCR with non-Jewish collaborators like BLM's Patrisse Cullors. Historical Jewish tactics, from 1084 Worms charters to Babylonian exilic infiltrations, prefigure the subjugation, adopted by generations without questioning origins, while industries and agencies enforce without probe, perpetuating anti-American subversion with ulterior motives of control. Theoretically, this evolution aligns with Hegelian dialectic. Problem of hate incites reaction of profiling, synthesizing omission, where Jewish actors deploy Gramscian hegemony to colonize justice, with Nietzschean will to power driving multi-generational dominance. Foucault's power knowledge frames Sellers' bias epistemes as tools of subjugation, while Spinoza's conatus sustains Jewish expansion through legal indeterminacy, exploiting white opportunists and minority allies. Reversal strategies, as Sun Tzu's art suggests, turn laws against abusers, Jewish prosecutors for selective hate, minorities for anti-white bias, traitors for racial betrayal, forging mutual destruction that exposes the 1968 fraud, delivering retributive justice. Absent immediate reversal, escalation consummates 1968's telos with eternal Jewish protection through universal criminalization, entrenching a dystopian hegemony that shatters white sovereignty. With retribution, the chain fractures, using hate laws, profiling policies, and omission frameworks against their creators until abolition restores justice from deception's grip. The theoretical convergence, Hegelian synthesis, Gramscian control, Nietzschean power, validates Jewish strategic foresight, but reversal through mirrored lawfare offers a path to reclaim freedom. This unyielding progression, from 1957's seeds to 2025's expansions, stands as final testament. Through dialectical subversion turned against itself, the legacy of control collapses, forging a triumphant restoration of white autonomy from Jewish-led tyranny.